When you're engaging someone with a pipe, a bat, something like that, you've got to either get inside their range or outside it. Hi everyone, welcome to today's badge cam lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I am your host, John Correa. Unfortunately, Mike, my co-host, he caught the COVIDs. I think he licked a public urinal last week, and that's gross. Give him a hard time about it in the comments, would you? And wish him a speedy recovery. So joining me on today's video is ASP Chief Marketing Officer and Master Firearms Instructor Neil Widener on today's video out of Cincinnati, Ohio. You need a shot timer because that which gets measured gets worked on. The Range Tech Timer is the official timer of Active Self-Protection because it is versatile, reliable, feature-rich, and very economical. Check out all it can do at the link below. As our officer comes on scene, there's already an officer dealing with this guy who has stolen a phone from someone, and bystanders have pointed him out, and there's about to be a bunch of cops involved. Let's listen to the badge cams.
And it's a weak chopper foul for base on the lookout. You don't want to walk your mind. You just got to go right off.
Stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Johnny, I'm out.
Huh? Hold on a second.
Man, shit. Take it away.
Alright, 63 any other third shift or any units that can start for 6 and 8 ID.
I'm going to come to 6 and 1.
On the 6 and Walnut. 6 and Walnut.
Oh, yeah!
Hold on, yeah.
Let me know when you're ready.
6212 and 17, you need them to expedite.
Yeah, we had a change. It did not take effect.
I'm engaging, but it does not take
Put your hands behind your back, sir. Ready?
Get some.
Yes, sir. Hold on, Dre. Dre, hold on. Oh, shit.
Plastic, red t-shirt, black jeans.
Alright, now black 5.
Hey. He got me good, dog. He got me in the face.
You alright?
Oh, I'm bleeding.
Yeah, I'm good.
He swung back and got me.
Alright, he's getting tased? Yeah, I got
Well, it didn't take effect.
Alright, stop. Stop, you get tased. Taser.
I've sped this portion up just for the sake of time. All these officers are just going to walk this guy down the block. They're going to walk down to Electric Avenue, and then they're going to take it higher and just let this guy kind of walk it off for blocks and blocks and blocks. They did give him a significant amount more space during this. What I wanted you to see there too, you noticed our officer touched his face and then showed his hand. He had significant blood on him and was bleeding pretty darn profusely there. We don't actually have badge cams of them taking the guy into custody, but you're about to see the polyester pileup that comes at the end of it and the aftermath. Let's listen in some more.
1423 410. Thank you for keeping traffic.
What's that baton? Got that right in there. Get that baton in there. Put him on the side.
They are in. I will
Get that baton in there.
Your hands behind your back.
Our dude ended up facing a myriad of charges. Our officer ended up needing reconstructive surgery and is still not back on patrol at this point. He was hurt very badly by that bat strike. I'm excited for you to get to hear Neil's input on the lessons on this one. And when you want to hear more from him, and you should, go over to Asp Extra. He's there every week giving incredible tips to help you be better as a self-defender. So Neil, the interesting thing to me on this one is, as we get started kind of watching and seeing what's going on, is this dude, we know he's already a violent criminal, right? He's committed robbery by force in stealing a phone from somebody. And then pretty much immediately as our officer comes up, this guy comes back around and now he shoves a police officer. So, I mean, this is one of those instances where I kind of feel like we know this guy is violent. Somebody needs to get in here and Terry Tate this guy and get him on the ground.
Yeah, man, as I look at this one and I see this guy, basically he throat punches this officer and there's another officer there. So they've got kind of a 2-on-1 thing right now. There's a great opportunity to drop this guy to the ground and, roll up and do the thing that they need to do to get this stopped. I think this was a great opportunity to finish it before it even got started.
Yeah, and again, so we say this sometimes on the channel, right? That using a little bit of force early might prevent having to use a lot of bit of force later. And of course, there's always judgment on that, right? Because you can always go, wait a minute, if I use too much too soon, well, then I could be in trouble as well. So it's kind of a tough situation to be in.
Yeah, I think it's one of those darned if you do, darned if you don't kind of scenarios for officers, especially with the climate that we're in right now, is that, if they go too hard, too fast, there's so many people that'll freak out. And then if they go too little, too late, there's guys like us that'll sit there and tear them apart. So it's one of those deals. I want to be kind of careful with this. I think they were trying to do the right thing, but there was a pretty good opportunity to raise it not too high of a level and get it over, I think, pretty quick.
Yeah, and the next thing I see here, obviously, is an over-reliance on the taser. Now, when the taser works, it works. It's 100% effective when used within its use parameters. But of course, this guy's already been popped, didn't do anything, got popped again, didn't do anything, and now you can see him, he's growling and yelling and flexing and those things. And again, so I am glad that they didn't decide in this moment to say, oh, okay, well, the taser didn't work, so I'm going to go to the gun. I think that was good decision making.
Yeah, there isn't really an immediate threat of severe harm right now. So I think walking it down and trying to de-escalate was the right call now that we've got to this point. And we go moment by moment in this, and I think right here in this moment, de-escalation is the way to go. And this guy is one tough son of a gun to take this taser to the back like that.
Yeah, but I mean, now what I want you to see is you can see on his back here, that the prongs are only, my lasers are only like 3 inches apart. And guys, you've got to get 12 inches of prong spread in order to get neuromuscular incapacitation. It is required to have 12 inches of prong spread in order to get that kind of incapacitation. Otherwise, it's just a pain compliance tool, and it is highly likely to actually escalate the situation. And I think sometimes we look at this tool like, oh, okay, it's going to take the bad guy out without recognizing that it can also escalate the conflict too.
Yeah, it's just one of those deals where you have to use the tool as it's designed and as we know it's the most effective. And in this case, getting that close and closing the distance, it's going to hurt. There's still a lot of electrical, juice going through that thing, but without that spread, you're not going to get the effect that you need to end this thing actively. So, it's just learning how to use our tools and using them right.
Yeah, and of course, so we didn't have, the prongs both didn't go in. You see the one kind of hanging off his butt, the other one right in the middle of his back. And that escalates him to the point that he now takes this big bat thing and swings it at the officer. Now, this is aggravated assault. He did cause serious bodily injury to the officer. It wasn't a risk of serious bodily injury. He did cause it. And so right here, I really think, why didn't the other officer, he probably should have drawn his gun and shot this guy.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that he didn't use his gun at this point. He's turned around with something really big and heavy, hit this guy pretty darn hard, as we're going to go and see here. And why we didn't take another opportunity. Here's another opportunity to do something to end this, and we didn't take it. So I'm a little confused as to why we're still trying to de-escalate when this guy has clearly taken it from another level to another level to another level. And part of that's, I think, because he's read that these officers are not ready to use lethal force on him.
100% correct. He has read they are not willing to use force on me. And one of the things there that caused this is the officer stayed right in the range of where he could hurt him, right? So that bat, has got this kind of medium range, this 4 to 6 foot range where he can reach out and touch you with it. Now, at this point, finally, I think the officers realize, oh, we got to back away from this a little bit, so then we're out of range of this guy's defensive tools. And so, hear me, guys, if you know he's got like something he can whack you upside the head with, you either got to get way inside that, tackle him, or you got to stay far enough away that he can't hit you with it. Now, Neil, to me, I do think here, again, as we're going to speed it up, simply kind of seeing what's going on in a second, but you can see right here that this officer takes a swipe at his face. That is bright red blood. At some point, you got to kind of say, man, I'm out of this fight. There's plenty of other cops around. I need medical help. I don't understand why he just decided, man, what the heck, I'll just keep walking it off.
Well, I think it's one of those attitudes of, hey, I'm here, and if it's not me, then who kind of a scenario. And so, I'm impressed with the fortitude of this officer, and at the same time, we've got to be paying attention to ourselves to make sure that we're still active and that we can still get in and do what we need to do. And I mean, with that color of blood and knowing the rest of the story now, of course, we get the beauty of the hindsight here. It might have not been a bad idea to tap out and get some medical.
Yeah, and again, there's a bunch of other officers available. Even if the bad guy gets away, you can sometimes say, no, my life is more important, and so I'm going to go get some help or let somebody else deal with it, or we'll get him tomorrow. And I think great emotional fitness to stay in the fight, but at the same time, sometimes too much, right? Sometimes, hey man, I got to get out of this. Somebody call me an ambulance and let somebody else deal with the problem, right? Now again, they finally kind of, give this guy a little space. The tasers continue to be completely ineffective in this particular case. And at some point, I can see at least 5 officers on scene here right now, right? You got to talk to each other at this point and go, okay, somebody needs to tackle this guy like right now. Like, we got to stop this right now. Somebody needs to get up there and not try to pop him with a taser again because it's been ineffective for the 19th time, but tackle this dude. And somebody has to be willing to be Terry Tate.
Yeah, what I'm impressed with on this, the bad guy here is taking that level of pain, even though they weren't probably done right and they didn't close the gap to use the tasers effectively. That dude has a pain threshold. But when you've got 5 officers standing there and clearly they weren't really communicating with each other as we slowed it down and listened to it. But, there was another opportunity here that I think that they missed that could have been a great chance to roll this guy up with 5 bodies, get him on the ground and get him in cuffs. And again, we just continue to let this guy walk. And so I'm just left scratching my head that it took to this point to where somebody put this guy on the ground.
Well, and now at least we got a rugby scrum. At least these officers decided, nah, we're not doing that. I don't think they tased him because, again, they're still arguing with the guy and they're still fighting him and all that stuff. Now, again, at the end, one last thing that I would say here is these officers kind of look at this guy and are like, hey, man, you've been hurt. Are you okay? Sometimes you got to be the one that takes charge and says, dude, you're hurt badly. Sit down right here and we need to get you some medical attention. This is a weird one. I mean, I hope the officer makes a full recovery. Guys, let's remember that sometimes just rolling some guy up is the answer, and you might have to just tackle a guy to cover your ass.